everyone, it's Janet with Sugar Shine Designs. Today I'm going to show you how to make this 100% country scrapbook page, and we're going to feature CottageCutz dies and stamp sets in this project. Let's take a look at the die and stamp set. As you see, we've got matching dies and stamps for this farm animal set. And we've got some cute animals as well as a hen house, some pigs, and some cute sayings. So next up, we're going to show you how to use this grass. It's called spring grass, and it's about 4.5 inches by 3/4 inch tall. And that grass is great for cards as well as scrapbook pages. Next, we're going to have a series of shape cards. We have the double stitched rectangles. The largest is 4.25 by 3.25, and the smallest is 1.75 by 3/4, and there are 6 dies in this set. Next, we have the circle set. The largest is 3.75, the smallest is 3/4, and there are 9 dies in this infinity set. Really great stitched detail on them. And then we've got the squares. This is largest of 3.5 by 3.5 and the smallest by 1/2 inch, again stitched. And finally we have the oval set. This is 8 dies, largest 3.5 by 4.5 and the smallest 0.9 by 1.9 inches. All 4 sets, as I mentioned, have stitching. The rectangle set has double stitching, and the detail on these are really great. Here's a close-up of the double stitched die. So let's get started. First thing I do is create the base of my page by cutting out the center and leaving a 1-inch border on all sides. On this I can place my main page, and then I have the inside to map my photos. So the first thing I'm going to show you is creating the title of this page. For my mask, I'm using masking tape, and I've touched it a number of times just to lessen its stickiness, and that way it won't take any paper off when I peel it away. Now I'm using chalk for the sky and the land here, and I thought that after trying a couple different things that the chalk was fitting the theme better because it's more rustic in appearance, and after all it's kind of fun to use chalk. We haven't used it as much as we used to in the old days, so it was fun to try it again. Next comes the land. I've reapplied the masking tape again and begin applying different shades of brown to create that land definition. And of course the masking tape then creates a nice distinction between the sky and the land. In the end I didn't need it that much because I applied grass there, but still this shows you how you could create a nice definition between sky and land. I continued this theme in the corner. And here I have applied various colors of blue chalks, and it's gradiated moving from the corner inside outward. I used a number of different colors as well as even white so that the colors were darkest in the corner and then gradated out towards the center. So let's look at cutting out the mats for our pictures with our dies. Here's a oval that I wanted to show you, and I cut inside of that circles, and I'm going to use those circles for matting, but there was no need to keep all that paper in that oval because the picture is going to be on top of it, and this way I have enough paper for all of my matting with just that center piece that I cut out at the beginning. And anytime we can save paper, that's a good thing. So let's take a look at the sandwich we used to cut the dies. We first have our A plate, the B plate, then our paper, and our die on top of that with the C plate. This gives a perfect pressure to get a good cut. Now you'll notice that I'm offsetting my mats on my pictures, and this is a good tip when your pictures are similar in size to your mats. You can offset it and still get a nice matted look. I wanted to give you a quick look at how I colored my grass or shaded it. Just use a cosmetic sponge and distressed ink. This is mowed lawn. And I just get the tips and a little bit at the bottom, and that gives it some nice dimension. I like using sponges much better than anything else like this. I just get better control, and I like being closer to the work. Similarly, I sponged the edges of my mats with Salty Ocean Distressed ink. Next, I'm going to speed things up even more and show you all the coloring I did on my farm animals. So sit back and relax and enjoy watching it all get done. Now that the coloring's done, we can cut out our colored images, and I'm showing you here a set of templates that I created out of purple paper. And these are something you should keep with your set so that you can use them time and time again. But what they serve to do is to help you make sure that the cuts you make with your die cuts are actually in the place that you want over your image. And therefore that means you're going to have fewer times that you make a mistake in your die cutting and then have to start over. And that's all good. So here I've got them all laid out, and I'm going to run it through the cutter. And then you can see when I'm done that the dies have actually cut where I wanted them to, and I've got a good image to work with going forward. If you don't use this time-saving tip, I'd really highly recommend you give it a try. You can see here that the edges are looking pretty good. And here are all the cuts that I made, and we're ready now to start putting the page together. I decided to use 2 layers of grass here that just gave it some more dimension, and I turned up the edges of the grass so that it also had more fringing and more realistic appearance. And then I started to tuck my animals in at the top. One thing that I did here is I used foam tape on the top edge of each of these little animals except for the chicken. And then that gives a look more like the legs are in the grass, but the body part pops up a little bit and gives it some good dimension. It's much better appearance than just being flat. I hope you can see here how the animals pop out of the page a little bit. At this point in the project, I've attached everything to the page, but I wanted to highlight my journaling. I used the circle frame to highlight my journaling, and I thought that worked really well here. Also, I wanted to take a deeper look at a frame that I created with a rectangle and an oval. Just another great way to get more use out of your dies. And then the last touch was the henhouse and chicks. I really liked how that turned out. Aren't they cute? All that's left to do is attach the page to the frame using glue. And that's my project for today. I hope I've given you some great ideas about how to use your dies on your scrapbook pages. You'll find the links to all the great CottageCutz dies I used in my video description. I'll see you soon, but until then, keep crafting!